Welcome to the channel. Hit subscribe and dive into stories that'll stay with you long after the video ends. Let's begin. He saw her before she saw him. A flash of navy blue, the glint of a badge, and the unmistakable posture of someone trained to step into danger without hesitation. Elias froze at the edge of the grocery store parking lot, breath catching in his throat as the woman in uniform jogged toward an ambulance. Her uniform crisp, her movements sure, her expression focused. It was her. Leela, except she had told him she worked from home in online marketing. Flexible hours, low stress. Nothing exciting, she used to joke, yet here she was wearing the gold-trimmed patch of the city's emergency medical response unit. He couldn't look away. The rush of sirens, the slamming doors, the whirl of lights, none of it distracted him from the truth standing 10 yards away. Leela, hair tied back, radio clipped to her shoulder, kneeling beside a man on the pavement with steady, practiced hands. He whispered into the cold air, "Why did you lie to me?" But his voice was lost under the wail of the departing ambulance. For a moment he just stood there, stunned, the way someone stands when the foundations beneath them suddenly crack. 2 months earlier she had looked him straight in the eyes, sitting across a table at a quiet cafe, steam rising from untouched cups of lavender tea, and said she worked a quiet marketing job. She even described boring spreadsheets, tedious email campaigns, the kind of work people complain about with a sigh. So why the uniform? Why the sirens? Why the life-or-death urgency she had never once mentioned? The wind cut through the parking lot and Elias finally moved toward his car. The questions churned inside him, heavy and relentless. He slid into the driver's seat but didn't start the engine. Instead, he leaned back and stared at the building across the lot, trying to slow his breathing. He replayed the last weeks in his mind, her late replies, her sudden cancellations, her exhaustion she blamed on client deadlines. He wanted to believe her. He had believed her. His phone buzzed. A message from Leela. "Good morning, just finishing up some emails. Want to grab lunch later?" Emails. The word twisted in his stomach. He typed nothing back. Instead, he watched the road where the ambulance had vanished, still hearing the echo of its siren. He felt a strange ache, a pull between concern and betrayal. She didn't look like someone living a double life. She looked right, natural, as if the uniform belonged to her more than any office desk ever could, which made the lie feel even stranger. He rubbed his hands together, trying to warm them, trying to make sense of anything. Why hide something like this? Why hide being a medic, a job most people would speak about with pride? A memory surfaced. One night, weeks ago, she arrived late to dinner. Her hands trembled slightly, though she tried to hide it by tucking them into her jacket sleeves. He had chalked it up to cold weather. Now he wasn't so sure. He stared out the windshield again, pulse thudding in his ears. Something wasn't adding up. And as he sat there, he noticed something else. Another emergency vehicle pulling into the lot. This one, slower, headlights sweeping across the pavement before coming to a stop at the far corner. A figure stepped out. Elias narrowed his eyes. The driver walked straight toward the store entrance, but before disappearing inside, he glanced around the parking lot slowly, searchingly, like he was looking for someone. Elias felt a chill tighten down his spine, because the man's gaze paused just for a second on him. Elias dropped his eyes to the steering wheel, pretending to scroll his phone, but his pulse hammered as if it wanted to escape his chest. He didn't know why the medic's stare rattled him so deeply. Maybe because everything felt wrong already. Maybe because Leela's lie had cracked open a door he wasn't ready to look through. When he dared a glance back, the man was gone, absorbed into the sliding doors of the store. The parking lot went still again, leaving Elias alone with the strange silence that follows a siren. He turned the key in the ignition, but the engine's hum did nothing to calm him. He just sat there, letting warm air fog the inside of the windshield. Minutes passed. His thoughts ran wild. Then his phone buzzed again. Another message from Leela. "Hey, everything okay?" He swallowed. She must have felt something, maybe sensed something in his pause, or maybe she was simply checking in. But the timing gnawed at him. The lie had cracked. Now everything she did felt suspicious. He forced himself to reply, "Yeah, just running errands. Lunch sounds good." He winced at his own dishonesty. She wasn't the only one lying now. He pulled out of the parking lot, driving aimlessly through the city, as sunlight began to warm the buildings. Yet he kept seeing her kneeling beside that stranger, giving calm instructions to the fire crew, moving with experience that could only come from years on the job, not some side gig she hid from him. He ended up in a park he hadn't been to since childhood. He parked beneath a bare elm tree, got out, and let the quiet wrap around him. The grass glittered with frost. The distant hum of the city seemed softer here. He tried to breathe it in, clear his head, but the scene replayed again, her radio crackling, her eyes sharp with focus. He sank onto a bench. Why would she lie about something so big? He reached for his phone again, scrolling through old messages from her. There were hints, he could see them now. Nights she said she was too drained to talk. Days she disappeared for hours. Moments where she avoided questions that seemed harmless at the time. He hadn't noticed. He hadn't wanted to. The wind rustled the dry branches above him. A jogger passed nearby, nodding politely. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. For a fleeting second, life felt normal, but then his phone buzzed again. This time a call, Leela. He let it ring twice before answering. "Hey," he said, trying to steady his voice. "Hi," she replied softly, her tone warm, familiar. "You sound off. Everything okay?" He closed his eyes. "Yeah, just tired." A pause, too long, too careful. Then she said, "Are we still on for lunch? I can meet you anywhere. I just need to finish a few things here." "Where's here?" he asked before he could stop himself. Silence. A silence that stretched, fragile and telling. "Just work," she finally said. "Same old." He felt the words like cold water trickling down his spine. Same old. He exhaled slowly. "Yeah, okay, text me when you're free." They hung up. He stared at the phone in his hand, feeling the beginnings of something darker, something he didn't want to name yet. He stood from the bench, brushing frost from his jacket, because someone else was watching him. A shadow near the path, frozen, unmistakable. The same medic from the parking lot. Elias's breath caught as the man stepped out from behind the tree line, boots crunching on the frosted ground. The medic wasn't in a hurry this time. He moved with deliberate calm, hands tucked into the pockets of his heavy jacket, eyes fixed on Elias. For a split second, Elias considered leaving, walking to his car, driving away, pretending none of this was happening. But something in the man's steady approach rooted him to the spot. When the medic stopped a few feet away, he nodded once as if confirming something important. "You're Elias, right?" The question hit like a blow. "How do you know my name?" The man hesitated. "I work with Leela." Elias's chest tightened. He had expected answers, but not that one. The medic offered a hand. "I'm Rowan." Elias didn't shake it. Rowan lowered his hand, letting it fall to his side. He looked tired, deeply tired, the kind of exhaustion that came from long shifts and heavy secrets. "She didn't want you to find out like this." "Find out what?" Elias demanded. His voice cracked, carrying a mixture of anger and fear. Rowan glanced around the empty park before speaking. "She's been hiding her real job from you, but not for the reason you think." Elias clenched his jaw. "Then tell me the truth." Rowan exhaled slowly. Cold mist drifted from his breath. "She works with our response team, high-risk calls, night shifts, situations that most people don't walk away from." Elias felt the ground shift beneath him. "And she lied about all of it. To protect you," Rowan said. The words hit harder than Elias expected, but Rowan wasn't finished. "There's more," he said quietly. "Leela has been involved in a specific case the last few months, something sensitive. Without meaning to. You've been pulled into it." Elias frowned. "Pulled into what?" Rowan hesitated again. His eyes flicked toward the path, scanning it. "I can't talk about details. I shouldn't even be talking to you, but I saw you at the store this morning and I knew she hadn't told you yet." "Tell me what?" Elias pressed. Rowan lowered his voice. "She's been receiving threats. Real ones. That's why she didn't want you to know where she worked. She was trying to keep you separate from all of it." Elias stared at him, stunned. "Threats from who?" Rowan shook his head. "Can't say, not now." The wind shifted, rustling the brittle leaves around them. Elias tried to steady himself. Anger, confusion, fear, they all collided violently. "So what do you want from me?" "To be careful," Rowan replied, "and to let her tell you the rest, soon." He took a step back as if preparing to leave, but paused mid-turn. "She cares about you, that's real. Don't doubt that part." Then Rowan walked away, fading back toward the park entrance. Elias stood rigid, his heartbeat throbbing in his throat. Threats. A hidden high-risk job, a case she couldn't talk about. It was too much at once and yet not enough to understand anything. He felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him, pushing him toward a decision he hadn't realized he'd been making. He needed to confront her. He pulled out his phone. Before he could type, a new message appeared on the screen, from Leela. "Can we talk?" Something happened. He drove straight to her apartment, the city blurring past in streaks of gray and gold. His hands tightened around the steering wheel every few blocks, gripping harder whenever Rowan's words replayed in his mind. Threats, a secret case, and Leela at the center of it all. When he reached her building, the sun had already begun its slow descent, painting the sky in washed-out amber. He climbed the stairs instead of taking the elevator, needing the movement, needing something to burn off the storm inside him. He knocked once. The door opened almost immediately. Leela stood there, still wearing the same uniform from the morning, her hair slightly undone, shadows under her eyes. She looked exhausted and scared. Elias didn't say a word at first. Neither did she. Instead, she stepped aside, silently inviting him in. He walked past her into the small living room, its soft lamplight doing little to warm the tension in the air. She closed the door gently, then leaned against it, arms folded, as if bracing herself. "I know you saw me," she said quietly. The words echoed through him. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked. She swallowed hard. "Because I didn't want this to touch you." "Touch me how?" His voice rose despite his attempts to control it. She flinched, not dramatically, but enough for him to notice. She motioned toward the couch. "Please, sit. Let me explain." He didn't want to sit. He wanted the truth fast and clear. But he forced himself to breathe and lowered onto the couch. She took a seat across from him, wringing her hands. "I'm not in marketing," she began. "I never was. I'm part of the emergency response unit, and for the last few months I've been working undercover on coordinated calls connected to a trafficking ring." Elias stared at her, stunned. "I'm a medic, yes, but my team also responds to scenes, ones we can't talk about publicly, ones tied to the same network we're investigating." He felt cold spreading through him. "Why lie to me?" he whispered. Her eyes glistened. "Because the people behind this are dangerous. They've threatened anyone who gets close, family members, friends, partners. I thought keeping my job hidden would keep you safe." Elias leaned forward, and the threats Rowan mentioned. She went still. "You talked to him?" she asked quietly. "He found me." She closed her eyes for a moment. "Then you already know more than you should." "Tell me the rest," he said. "All of it." She hesitated, but something in her expression shifted. Resignation, vulnerability, a fragile kind of trust. "They've been watching me," she whispered, "following me after shifts, leaving notes on my car, and recently they started sending messages, ones that mentioned you." A shiver crawled up his spine. "Me? Why?" "Because they saw us together," she said. "They think you're important to me." Her voice softened. "They're right." He felt something twist inside him, fear tangled with something softer, deeper. But before he could respond, a sharp knock rattled the door. Leela froze. Her eyes darted to the peephole. A whisper of dread passed over her face. "It's them," she breathed. Leela pressed a trembling hand against the door as if she could gauge danger through the wood. Her eyes flicked to Elias, silently urging him to stay quiet. The knock came again, sharper this time, impatient. Elias's pulse pounded in his ears. "Who is it?" Leela called, voice steady in a way her hands weren't. A pause. Then a man's voice answered, muffled through the door. "Delivery." Elias frowned. "You expecting something?" She shook her head slowly. Her eyes never left the door. Another knock, firmer, urgent. "Delivery," the voice repeated. Leela stepped back, inhaling sharply. "Get behind the kitchen counter, now." Elias moved without question, ducking behind the counter as Leela approached the door cautiously. She didn't unlock it. Instead, she asked, "Which unit?" No answer. The silence stretched, thick and wrong. Then the handle jiggled. Elias felt his muscles tighten like cables pulled taut. Leela retreated, reaching for the drawer beneath her side table, pulling out a small baton, compact, tactical, the kind police medics were trained to carry. The handle jiggled again. Then footsteps retreated down the hallway, fading until the building fell silent. But silence didn't feel like safety. Leela motioned for Elias to stay where he was as she crept toward the peephole. She looked out, breath shallow. Then she exhaled shakily. "They're gone." Elias rose slowly. "You think it was them?" She nodded. "They've tried this before. Fake calls, fake deliveries, testing doors, looking for moments when I'm alone." "You shouldn't stay here," Elias whispered. "I know." Her voice broke on the word. In that moment, everything between them, the lie, the fear, the distance, collapsed into something raw and unfiltered. She sank onto the edge of the couch, face in her hands. Elias sat beside her. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" he asked, softer this time. She lifted her head. Because once you knew you'd be in danger, I thought I could handle it alone. You don't have to handle it alone. For the first time in hours, she looked at him, really looked at him with gratitude and fear intertwined. I'm sorry, she whispered. I should have trusted you. He reached for her hand. We deal with this together, whatever it is, I'm not leaving. Her fingers closed around his, trembling but firm. She drew a breath. There's one more thing. Something I haven't told anyone, not even Rowan. Elias braced himself. The ring we're investigating, they're planning a move tonight, a big one, and I'm supposed to be on shift, embedded with the response team that's tracking them. He stared at her, stunned. Then you can tell them about the threats, about the visit. She shook her head. If I report it now, they'll pull me off the assignment, and I'm the only one who can identify the ringleader on site. If I step back, someone else could get hurt or worse. Conflict carved its way across her face, duty on one side, survival on the other. Elias squeezed her hand. Then I'm going with you. She blinked in disbelief. You can't, you're not trained, you'd be a target. I already am. His words hung between them, quiet, undeniable truth. She inhaled slowly, deliberating, weighing the risk. Then finally she nodded. Stay close to me. Don't speak unless I tell you. And whatever happens, don't run. They stood together. A siren wailed in the distance, faint, rising. Leela clipped her radio onto her uniform. Elias grabbed his jacket. They stepped into the dim hallway, closing the door behind them, stepping forward into the unknown side by side. And whether the night ended in danger, revelation, or something neither of them could foresee, they were no longer facing it alone. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and check out the channel for more real-life stories.